Okay, you lot, so today we are making a very big video. So today we will be focusing all about weapons. So I have been playing this game since release. It's been almost a week by now. I have managed to complete majority of the content when it comes to like earlier rifts, right? I have managed to beat all of the normal levels of the rifts. As you can see, now it starts going with the hard mode. Dojos, I have been able to beat both the normal and the hard levels. I have just unlocked the nightmare one, so I do want to say that I do have a decent enough experience in this game, right? And what we'll be doing today is we will be rating every single weapon in the game. So first of all, I'm gonna talk about how to unlock each weapon, right? Second of all, I will showcase it in the training grounds, and lastly, we will be showcasing it a bit in action, as well as placing it in a tier list based on how good the weapon is in my opinion. Now do keep in mind that this tier list will be my opinion based on how I used a lot of these weapons, right? I have used all of the weapons quite a bit, right? Because I do have all of the quests, I think at least almost all of the quests. Yeah, all of the quests except for the last bit of a buzzkill completed. So I did unfortunately have to use a lot of these weapons, right? And unfortunately, some of them aren't exactly fun to use, so it was a pain to use them, but nonetheless I'm gonna be reviewing all of them and we'll see what the best weapons are. So if you want to use the chapters placed at the bottom of the video, feel free to do those if you just want to locate a specific weapon. And yeah, let's begin. And of course, for any weapon that we use, we are gonna be bidding with the monster slugger. So when it comes to unlock conditions, you unlock this weapon as soon as you start the game. So by default, everyone will have this weapon, right? Overall, when it comes to using this weapon is able to do AoE damage for all enemies in front of you, and also every 4 hits it will do a larger AoE attack that will do double the damage as well as increase the range of it, right? Now, when it comes to scenarios where I use this weapon, honestly, it's sort of a bit on the lower tier for me, right? It's a really nice weapon early on, right? Especially when you only have like 5 to 6 weapons unlocked, and when you do need that big AoE damage, Monster Slugger is actually gonna be one of the highest damage weapons early on, until I would say until you unlock maybe the SPINSICKLE, right? At which point that weapon is just gonna be way more versatile compared to the Monster Slugger. Another downside is that this weapon only hits in front of you for the basic attacks, which means that first of all you have to position yourself really carefully in order to even get the hits off, right? And even when you do get the hits off, I mean, the damage you do is pretty good, right? Like, we cannot complain about the DPS of this weapon, but just the lack of that targeting that you have with it, right? And it not hitting all around you and only in front of you really limits the capabilities quite a bit, right? When I use this weapon, although I do it quite rarely, you can use it with some sort of a sustainability, because as a weapon you are hitting a lot of enemies and you will be healing quite a bit with it. Usually I pair it with something like the attack speed gadgets such as the lightning shot. A shield is a really good option, because here's the deal, with any melee weapon, whenever you are fighting a lot of enemies, right, you will be getting hit quite a bit unless you have a lot of slowness gadgets, and yeah, unfortunately you will have to have some sustain for it. Now, for scenarios where I would use it, the only thing I can think of is some early level, early game Dojo runs, right? Apart from that, as soon as you get to around level 20 or so, you will be unlocking a lot more better weapons. You will have the SPEEDSHOT, you will have the portal, where you will be doing a little bit more DPS, a little bit more utility, and this weapon really falls off quite hard, I would say, until like level 15. This weapon is amazing for a lot of things, but as soon as you unlock more of those higher level weapons, this one is gonna drop off quite fast, and unfortunately at my current progress I am not using it anywhere. So for this reason, when it comes to our tier list, I'm gonna have to give Monster Slugger a C tier, right? Yes, honestly, like, if it wasn't for the early game potential, I would probably give it an F tier. But seeing that it does carry you through early game, I'm gonna have to bump it up to the C tier. However, I cannot give it any higher than that because the lack of range, the lack of directional hits around you can be really a big drawback with this weapon. And for our next weapon, we do have the Techno Fists, right? Now, majority of you who are watching this video will already have this weapon because it does unlock at level 2 just after completing the main quest from Manny, I believe. You will get like an NPC that'll give you a quest, and at level 2 that quest will be available and you will be able to get the Techno Fists weapon, right? Now this weapon, compared to the Monster Slugger, is much better, right? So the way it works is at first you start hitting the enemies until your meter charges. The enemy is able to get hit up to 3 times, so essentially your main attack will do majority of the damage, and then it will bounce 2 times to do 2 times less damage of the first hit. And once it charges the meter, it will launch a big ball that will bounce between 10 targets and will do a much higher damage, right? Now when it comes to using this weapon, this is a weapon that is best used against, I would say, 3 at most, right? But ideally against 2 targets, right? It should never be used against 1 target. It should be used against 2 or 3. First of all, to make use of all of the bounces, and second of all, because if you look at the footage right here, as soon as you launch the mega ball, if there is only 2 enemies, both of the enemies will be getting 5 hits from that ball, which will stack up the damage a lot. And this, as you can see, this is a dojo level in the Elite Hunter program, and I'm able to really easily just get rid of these units even below the 1 minute mark because of all of those jumps. Now the problem with Techno Fists is you usually have to play in a way where both of the enemies get equal damage, because if one of them gets a little bit more damage, they will die, and then there will be no bouncing in between, which means you will be losing a lot on the damage. Now the best part about Techno Fist is this is not even the only use where you can use it. It does have some decent uses even later in the game, and trust me when I say this, I have used it in quite a few rifts. I would say one particular rift where it is amazing at is the van defense. I know a lot of people who try to sub 2 minute van defense use as the SPINSICKLE, but trust me on this, SPINSICKLE is nowhere near as amazing as Techno Fists, because with Techno Fists you are able, first of all, to draw all of the units towards yourself by using the whistle gadget. And if you just spam Techno Fists, the way we beat this dungeon with sub 2 minute timing is we used 4 Techno Fists and we simply whistle all of the units towards ourselves and just spam the Techno Fists, right? The increased range from the weapon simply gives you way more damage potential compared to something like SPINSICKLE, because with SPINSICKLE you need to get into melee range, which does take a lot of time. So this is sort of like a less damage oriented, however it does have the range of that weapon, right? Like the weapon is a ranged weapon, which means that you are able to speedrun a lot of these dungeons quite well. So overall for Techno Fists, I would put it, okay, here's the deal. Later on, again, compared to a lot of the later weapons, it might not have too much use, right? But for what it does, this weapon is just amazing, right? When Techno Fist can be used, this is the perfect weapon. And when Techno Fist doesn't fit in the team, it's still a pretty decent weapon, right? Because it does have the multi damage potential. It does have potential against like 2 or 3 enemies especially. So I would put it between A tier and B tier. I would probably go with like a low A tier, right? Putting it in B tier, I feel like there will be a lot more weapons that could fit the B tier better. So I would put it in something like a low A tier. And for our next weapon, we have the Staff of Good Vibes. It's actually not Wall Stick, it's Staff of Good Vibes, because this one unlocks a little bit earlier from the Wall Stick, if I remember correctly. Okay, so this weapon unlocks at level 10, and in order to unlock it, you will need to do a main quest by beating a specific map. So you will get a main quest from an NPC called Jax, and he will request you to go to the rifts and beat the Dead End Rift. And once you beat the Dead End Rift, you will receive a mission reward, which will contain the Staff of Good Vibes weapon. Right now, for the weapon itself, the way it works is essentially you hit the closest ally who needs healing, right? Unfortunately, it does prioritize allies who need healing over the enemy. So for example, if you have 2 targets next to you, right? One of them is an ally that is missing some HP, and the other target is an enemy target. It will focus on the target who needs the HP. Only after the ally is full HP, it will start hitting the enemy. And the way this one works is, if you do manage to multi-hit both your ally and your enemy, you will doing both damage to the enemy as well as healing to your ally, right? So yeah, just for reference on how it works, as you can see, it does have a pretty good range, right? It also has a charge meter, which means that as soon as the charge meter charges, you will launch an AoE attack, which will do almost 5 times more damage, as well as heal everyone in a big melee range. And yeah, for reference, you can see that you are also able to just hit an ally who needs healing, and you that ally will receive healing. And yeah, I position myself like this. You can see that if you do hit both a healing target and a damage target, you do hit both the healing procs as well as the damage procs. Now, unfortunately, this weapon, while it does have a very cool mechanic of both doing damage and healing, is unfortunately not that useful in a lot of content. Now, I can't think of a single dungeon where this would work, and that is the Advanced Training Dojo and the Helping Hands map, right? The only reason why it works in here is in this dungeon, you have your friendly spirits, and essentially your goal is to kill this boss together with the friendly spirits. Now the catch here is, if you let your clump spirits to take a lot of damage, they will be dying, and unfortunately you will not be doing enough damage to the boss itself, right? Because those clump spirits, they have absolutely massive single target damage. So your goal in here is not as much to do damage yourself as it is to make them survive, because the clump spirits themselves will be able to do massive damage to the boss and kill it within the 2 minutes, right? And Staff of Good Vibes is pretty much like the perfect weapon in here, right? Because if you notice, until the boss does his special like disappearing attack, he will always hit the same target even if you are closer to him. So he will very rarely switch focus, and you are able to position yourself really easily in order to both heal the boss, or I mean heal the spirits and do damage to the boss, right? Whether you stand behind the spirits, whether you stand behind the boss, I would ideally recommend you to stand behind the boss, because when he shoots his little meteor attack, you will be getting hit if you are at longer range. But yeah, this is pretty much the only scenario where this weapon is actually useful, right? Honestly, I couldn't find any other scenario apart from maybe like hunting in the world and making sure that your allies are healed up, right? So that's another like secondary use, but the main use for it is pretty much this dungeon. Apart from that, really, this weapon does not have much use. You can do it in some like very niche scenarios, right? One of them that I can think of, if you go into monster games and one defense, for example, if you see, like this mostly applies to your first completion, not like speedruns. If you see that you are struggling with keeping the one alive, right, and you're just not doing enough damage, you can use the Staff of Good Vibes to actually heal the one by hitting it with the weapon. In that case, you can find some really niche use for it, but otherwise so because of this, I cannot put it in F tier, right, because it is needed for one dungeon. It does have some niche use, but it's definitely going into the low C tier category of weapons that you will use once and probably never again. And for our next weapon, we have the wolf stick. So this is a very special weapon, and honestly, here's the deal. I know a lot of early game players, especially players who are like level 10 to 15, are trying to get into rifts. And if you see a higher player, level 20 or higher, right, and they're using something like a bow, the best thing that you can do in order to make sure that the rift is completed is use the wolf stick. Trust me, this weapon is absolutely overpowered in any early game potential. Until you reach level 20, this should be the only weapon you use in a majority of the rifts, right? Now, in order to unlock this weapon, you also have to reach level 10 and complete a project from Manny, right? So we will get a main quest from him, and as soon as the main quest is completed, you will receive this weapon as a reward. And yeah, this weapon, what it does is essentially it spawns a wolf, and that wolf is able to, first of all, do single target damage, do multi-hit damage. It has a combo attack, and on top of that, it has very high single target damage by itself. So here's an example of how it works. You go to any target. You can see that the single target damage, it does do a triple hit for 82 damage at this moment, right? So even as a single target weapon, especially the one that you unlock early on, it's one of the better ones. And honestly, I highly recommend using it in majority of the rifts, because first of all, you are gonna be doing very good damage compared to other weapons that you have at this level. And second of all, the wolf, right? Let me talk about the wolf. The wolf is an amazing asset in order to make sure that the boss is not hitting you. Because here's the deal, in a lot of rifts, the wolf is gonna be like a fifth player, right? And a lot of the rifts, especially the harder ones, like let's say something like the Big Papa one, the boss will continuously focus on the player and will do a lot of damage to it, right? You will need to do insane amounts of juggling back and forward in order to avoid getting hit by the boss and dying, right? And what this weapon does allow you to do is not only do very high single target damage for the weapons that you have available, but also draw aggro from the boss, right? So especially this attack that you can see right here, he will shoot this laser at one of the targets. It doesn't matter whether it's an pet or a player, right? And as you can see, like, look at this, we can stay out of range of the boss and he will continuously hit the werewolf, right? Wolf, werewolf, whatever you want to call it, right? This allows your other teammates, first of all, to stay safe, and second of all, to do a lot of damage because they don't have to run away, they don't have to continuously keep healing or waiting for the heals to pop if they have something like a mixtape action, right? And yeah, as you can see, like at a higher level, the wolf is actually able to survive quite a few hits. I believe if you have like a lower level weapon, he will still survive like at least 3 or 4 hits. But if you are able to time the werewolf spawn with this attack, as you can see, in this case, the wolf absorbed the whole like fire attack. You are able to keep a lot of your teammates safe. And now look at this, a person at the top is just casually spamming the weapon. I believe he's spamming spear balls, right? Other player is using the bow. He's able to use the bow freely because he's not getting hit by the boss, whereas if you do not have any pets spawn, like again, look at this, he draws the aggro, which allows the other players to stay safe. I'm not sure why the player literally just went into the fire, but yeah, so you're gonna be doing amazing single target damage, you're gonna be taking aggro away from your teammates, and honestly, early on, as long as 1 or 2 of you have a wolf stick in a rift team, trust me, you will be, maybe not by damage, but you will be the MVP of that game, because it doesn't matter what the badges after the game say, if you were able to draw aggro for majority of the match, you are actually like the main player, right? And also you will be able to stack a lot of the most damage done medals if you are into that as well, right? So if we have to rate it, while I do have to say that I'm not using this weapon for much anymore, right? Because we do have some better weapons that are simply more useful. This is by far the most important weapon that you should use until you hit around level 20, and for that reason I'm gonna easily have to give it an A tier, right? I know a lot of people are trying to just purely do damage, use something like a Techno first early on, but trust me, if 1 or 2 of you have a wolf stick in a rift, you will be the MVP of that raid. Trust me, there's been so many moments where I just wish people had 1 wolf stick in a raid, because even a lower level player, like let's say if you have a level 10 with a wolf stick, it just makes all the other like level 20 players do much more damage, because they don't have to shuffle around due to taking a lot of the damage from the boss. So yeah, easily A tier. Okay, and the next weapon we have is the toothpick and a shield. The way you unlock this weapon is by reaching level 12 on your account. After hitting level 12, you will receive a mission from Jax, and he will task you to beat the Overlord's Chamber dungeon. Once you beat this dungeon, he will give you the toothpick and shield as a reward from his main quest. Now, what this weapon does, it does a damage at an extremely close range. It does deal area damage, but trust me, the range is so small that you will usually struggle to even hit 2 enemies if they are close to each other. After you receive 15 hits from enemies, your next attack is an area slam that deals damage in a large area and stuns non-boss targets, right? And the cool passive about this one is pretty much like the main use why you would use this weapon is while you are using this weapon, you receive 25% less damage. Now you can see a showcase of the weapon right here. You can see that like the range of it is quite small. Like you really need to position yourself really well in order to hit the targets. But look at this. If I position myself right in front of them, I will be able to hit 2, right? If it's a little bit more diagonal, it's already gonna struggle quite a bit, right? So yeah. Also, as you can see, the damage on this weapon is short of saying abysmal, right? Like the damage is pretty much non-existent, and the reason for that is quite simply put, this weapon is purely a tank weapon, right? You are not meant to do damage with it. When you use this weapon, you are only using it when you are trying to be the tank of your team, right? Now, unfortunately, with those cases, in this game, at this moment, right, there really isn't much use for tanks, right? You can beat a lot of the dungeons that you have with just using damage and a few sustained passives or gadgets, right? And being a tank is simply just loses a lot of the value, right? Like you can see, even if I go into one of the earlier Elite Hunter Dojo dungeons, where being a tank is actually useful, it really doesn't do much, right? Like this, I cannot find much use for it. I unfortunately had to go into a heavy hitting dungeon, which is a much earlier one, right? And just to showcase that you are maybe able to do something, right? Like I provoked everyone and I started hitting them. I had a lot of sustained passives, I had some sustained gadgets. But then again, like, look at this. I used the ice globe, right, the snow globe, in order to add a lot of AoE damage. Here's the deal. I could have hit like 80% of those targets just by walking around all of the enemies instead of simply tanking them, right? So really, this weapon just, unfortunately, just doesn't have any use, right? I can't even think of many scenarios where this would work, right? Sadly, I didn't need to use this weapon in any condition at all, but yeah, if you want a showcase of how a tank setup would work, you would go for the TOOTHPICK, you would go for something like a shield as well as some healing gadgets. If you do have the whistle unlocked, a whistle is an amazing gadget for throwing aggro, just in case some of the enemies decide to focus on your allies, right? So yes, if you are playing a tank, you can go for something like this. Lots of healing, TOOTHPICK shield. Then you have the whistle to throw aggro, and yeah, you can sustain the hits, right? I mean, I probably wouldn't be able to sustain as much if it was a higher level dungeon. But yeah, if you want to be a tank, TOOTHPICK is probably the best weapon that you will have. But in this game, at this moment, with all of these dungeons that exists, being a tank is unfortunately just not needed, right? It's just simply not needed, and in cases where it is needed, where your allies are getting one shot, you will be getting one shot as well, even with this full tank setup, right? So yeah, unfortunately, TOOTHPICK shield, not a great weapon, not needed for progression at all. And because of that, it's gonna go straight into S. Just kidding. It's going F, right? It's probably the worst weapon in the game by far, unfortunately, right? You can try to make it work in PvP a bit. I'm not focusing on PvE in this case, right? PvP is like a whole different scenario when it comes to weapons. I'm mostly focusing on all of the PvE content in here, and in that case, TOOTHPICK shield is going straight to F tier. And the next weapon we have on our list is a portable portal. This is a weapon that you will unlock after you hit level 15. You'll just get it from the level up rewards. There is no sort of like secret hidden missions in order to unlock it. And yeah, let me just say that this is one complete opposite of the TOOTHPICK shield. This is one of the most used weapons. This is one of the strongest weapons in the game. On top of that, I'll have to say that it's probably one of the most unique weapons in the game, and you can make it work in so many different scenarios, right? So how it works is, for the main attack, it's really nothing special. It just shoots a little bubble and it does AoE damage. That's not what we're here from, right? We're mostly looking at the combo attack. Fill the combo bar to activate your rightmost gadget. So whatever gadget is placed in this slot, whenever you use the portable portal, as soon as you fill out the gauge, you will automatically use this. It will not put the gadget itself on a cooldown. It will be like a completely separate charge, and you can make a lot of nasty combos with that passive. So yeah, just to showcase how it works, as you can see, I will start attacking any enemy from range, and as soon as the bar goes out, you can see that it will automatically use the heal bubble, which is the rightmost gadget in my case. On top of that, I have to say, like, look at how good the range of this weapon is, right? You are not really using it for damage when it comes to like the main attack, right? You are only using it to charge your gadgets. And look at the range that you can find in order to hit like a single target in this testing ground, right? That is an absolutely massive range, and for content where this weapon is needed, the range aspect of this weapon is the main selling point, right? Now, when it comes to using this weapon, honestly, unlike with other weapons, I'm not even sure of a scenario where you wouldn't want to use them, right? So when it comes to worlds, it of course has a little bit less use because you are mostly trying to hunt with your main weapon in here. But if you put something like a multi-zapper, a snow globe or something like that, that is again an amazing option to go for even in worlds, right? Just to spam a lot of that AoE damage. For rifts, it does have some use. You definitely don't want to use it in all of them, but you can use it in a decent chunk of dungeons. For example, for an earlier clear of something like a van defense, you can constantly spam the pepper spray together with it. For all of the earlier dungeons, where you are not rushing straight to the boss, you can use this weapon with other damage gadgets, something like a rocket, something like a snow globe, something like a pepper spray, to constantly keep hitting enemies at a decently close range and staying safe while doing massive damage with your gadgets as well, right? And for Dojo, this is pretty much the main use where you want to use this weapon, and a lot of the advanced training levels will require you to use it because simply taking damage from these enemies will not be possible, right? Because there will be hordes of them, they will be doing a lot of damage, and you will simply not be able to take any hits, and this is where a lot of the slowness gadgets not compared but together with the portable portal become complete MVPs. So just to showcase one example, this is the crowd control dojo. This is unlocked after you unlock the elite hunter program, and as you can see, I currently have the portable portal, and it is comboed with the pepper spray, who is put in the last slot. And as you can see, the way you beat this dungeon, for example, and a lot of the other content that you can do with a similar strategy, is simply spam the gadget that you have yourself, and then constantly spam the weapon in order to drop more snow globes or more pepper spray activations, right? Which one you use is up to you, right? If you are mostly using to run around, you will want to use it with pepper spray because it has a shorter cooldown. But overall, like, look how effective this weapon is in making sure that the slowness is constantly applied to a lot of the enemies, and once they have slowness from either the snow globe or the pepper spray, you are able to easily kite them around by just walking around and using your dash when possible, right? On top of that, if you want to charge even faster, make sure to pair it with the vitamin shot gadget, which will allow you to get more attack speed on the weapon, which will make you use even more gadgets, right? So overall, portable portal, again, like super versatile gadgets. You can make like an infinite amount of combos with it, and honestly, whenever you go, especially even later on in the game, this will be one of the most used weapons when it comes to something like dojos. So yeah, unfortunately for the toothpick shield, it's going straight to the S tier, right? It could be something like a high A tier, but I feel like just because it's super versatile, you can pair it with like almost any gadget and it will be just amazing for that scenario. I'm gonna have to place it in the S tier. Okay, so the next weapon we have is the CPU bomb. So the way you unlock it is by hitting level 16 on your character, and once you hit level 16, you will receive a main quest from the Manny NPC, if I remember correctly, and he will request you to hunt some creatures in one of the maps, and once you hunt the ladybug creature, right, just simply follow the storyline that Manny gives, you will receive the CPU bomb gadget. So this gadget is overall super good, right? And the way it works is you are able to do a big AoE damage from rage. But just looking at the explosion radius, you can see that the range of it is absolutely massive, even for a basic attack. and after every 8 attacks you will drop a big sort of like ranged bomb, which will explode after a second and deal like 4 to 5 times more damage of the regular basic attack. And yeah, the damage numbers even on the basic attack are absolutely insane for this weapon, right? And yeah, it does have some decent use, very similar use to where you would use the portable portal. So now when it comes to the CPU bomb, again, you use it mostly in scenarios where you have to deal with a large amount of enemies at once, right? Unlike with the portable portal and something like an AoE gadget, this one really relies on a lot of basic attacks, right? And unfortunately in this case, you really need to have a lot of slowness options, otherwise you will be dying quite a lot. In this case, there are 2 gadgets that have a really good slowness, that is the snow globe and the pepper spray. So in these cases, where you are using the CPU bomb, you want to carefully plan around using these gadgets. You can plan around when you are close to dropping the big like a charged bomb, or you will have to plan around the cooldowns of those items. Basically what I mean is you shouldn't use snow globe and poison spray at the same time, otherwise you will have like a 10-second downtime of slowness, and in that amount of time the enemies can easily catch up to you and simply wipe you, right? So when using the CPU bomb, you really have to be careful with using your gadgets in order to ensure that the enemies are not able to get to you, and you have to closely cycle the gadgets. Use the pepper spray, wait 5 seconds, use the snow globe, wait 10 seconds, use the pepper spray, so on and so on. But overall, the weapon, I mean, it has one use and it's amazing at that use, right? So if we were purely rating the weapon's usefulness on how well they can wipe massive hordes of enemies, I would easily go to like S tier, right? However, overall, apart from this specific use, right, like apart from being an amazing weapon to wipe a lot of enemies at once, it just doesn't do much at all. And this is the reason why I'll place it in B tier. I'll say with the rating something like this: S tier and A tier are generally like really good weapons, right? C tier and F tier are generally sort of like bad weapons. B tier, while it is in the middle, I'm gonna use it more as a generalist tier. This means that a weapon, for example, might have like a very specific use and it's amazing at that use, but not really other uses, right? So for example, with Toothpick Shield, it is an amazing tank weapon, right? The problem with that is the game does not require a tank specifically, right? So yes, if the game required you to tank in pretty much every single piece of content, I would gladly put this in B tier. However, since tanks aren't exactly needed in this game that much, no offense to all my tank players, right? I'm gonna have to place items like this and this in the lower tiers, because there is simply just not enough use for them for me to justify putting them in the generalist B tier, right? And now we move on to the top tier weapons. Okay, not all of them, but we are gonna be talking about the SPEEDSHOT. So this bow is one of the biggest game-changing pieces of weaponry that you will receive when playing in this season, right? And yeah, this weapon is absolutely ridiculous. It is purely a single target weapon. However, when it comes to ranged damage, and not even ranged damage, I think all damage actually, it is by far the biggest DPS weapon on any like boss sort of creatures that you can fight, specifically single target. So the way it works is you do 10 shots, they will target a single enemy, and after 10 shots, if you have continuously been shooting the bow, you will enter into a speed mode, which will start shooting like 2 to 3 times faster, and you will be able to make amazing DPS. And I'll explain what makes SPEEDSHOT that much better than a lot of other weapons in just a second, right? Oh, and I just realized this when editing, so in order to unlock this bow, you will have to hit level 20, and then you will receive a quest for the new map. I don't exactly recall which map it is. It's probably one of like these two, right? Cave of Spirits or Castle Walls, maybe Summoning Grounds. It's been a while since I unlocked them, so I don't remember. Essentially, after hitting level 20, you will receive a main storyline from one of the NPCs, and once you complete them, you will receive the SPEEDSHOT. So once you hit level 20, make sure to complete the main quest line, because this item is absolutely ridiculous. And yeah, just to showcase the speed bow, essentially you start shooting at a slower pace, and once you charge up, as you can see, you start spamming the bow really fast. Now, if you look at the damage per second numbers, they may not look super high, right? But there is something that makes this weapon super OP, and that is the versatility of various gadgets and passives, right? So if we look into our wardrobe, right, the thing is, bow does good damage, right? Like, it does really good damage by itself, but where it really excels at is the amount of various gadgets and passives it works with, right? First of all, I know people say they don't like this gadget a lot of times. I feel like Vitamin Shot is one of the most amazing gadgets with a lot of DPS weapons. It allows you to heal and do damage a little bit higher for a few seconds, which is more than enough, because in those cases I won't need to run something like Vampire Teeth, right? So Vitamin Shot works amazingly with it. Once you unlock the Elite Hunter program, Vitamin Shot plus really cool sticker, which essentially just doubles your weapon damage for a bit, is an insane combo. I mean, imagine, you double your damage plus attack speed boost on top of that, plus the speed form of the bow. That is ridiculous amounts of damage, right? So it combos really nice with those. For passives, it's an even better situation. First of all, Unstable Lightning, this will be a must when you are using the bow, because pretty much like every 5th shot, at 20% chance to shoot a laser beam, which will do even more damage. Usually, I think it's like 2 or 3 times more than an actual shot, so this alone boosts your damage a bunch. On top of that, you will later unlock Unstable Beam, which is essentially the same as Unstable Lightning. However, it only works on single target enemies. Essentially, it will only proc on the first enemy you hit, which means that this passive is only useful on essentially when you are fighting one enemy, right? Whereas Unstable Lightning will hit all of the enemies, right? Or rather, not hit all of them, but can activate when you hit multiple enemies. This one will only activate on the first enemy you hit, which means that if you are fighting a boss, having both this and this will pretty much increase your damage by like 2.5 times, right? Like, the bow will actually be less damage than both of the passives combined, right? And there's also a lot of other amazing passives that you can use with it. First of all, Vampire Teeth, if you're really struggling with survival, right? There is the Chicken-O-Matic, which is an insane gadget if you are struggling with tanking with the SPEEDSHOT bow, because it will actually spawn chickens, and because you are hitting at a high range, you will be able to spawn a lot of those, right? And on top of that, when you unlock the rings, it's going to be even easier, because weapon damage boosting works, passive damage boosting works, right? Like, a lot of options are available with the SPEEDSHOT. And now, to show you the absolute destruction that is SPEEDSHOT, I went into the Big Papa dungeon. Again, Big Papa is at this point a bit of an easier one. It is not even an elite raid, right? But you can see that in this one, especially if you have the bow and the chickens actually draw a lot of aggro. Like, because you are shooting super fast, plus you are buffed up with the vitamin bow, or I mean the vitamin shot, your chickens will be able to spawn like once every second, and they will draw aggro really nicely, right? But yeah, I'm combining the bow plus vitamin shot plus really cool sticker plus the chickens and the double damage passives, right? Essentially, the only sustain I have right here is the vitamin shot, but when you do have this ranged attack plus the chickens, in a lot of cases you really won't need that much sustain, right? And yeah, you can see the damage numbers, especially the critical hits. These numbers are insane, right? It's only been a minute and Big Papa is already pretty much dead. At this point, I just went full focus on the boss, ignoring the little eggs because they won't even hatch before we kill the boss. And yeah, we were able to wipe the boss in 122. I don't know how strong these people are. They do look quite high level for this content, right? But look at the damage. Look at the boss damage. 225,000. That is insane numbers. And yeah, SPEEDSHOT is just an amazing bow that you will use in a lot of content. You will use it in dojos with bosses, you will use it in rifts, you can use it in worlds. It's not exactly the best there, because in worlds it's usually better to have some sort of AoE damage. But yeah, when it comes to rifts and dojos, trust me, SPEEDSHOT is by far the best boss killer out there. And obviously, I have to put it easily in the S tier right here. Okay, and the next weapon we have after the SPEEDSHOT is the medicine ball. So the unlock conditions for this one are quite simple. You unlock it as soon as you hit level 23. It is an actual level up reward for that level. And what it does is essentially, as you keep hitting enemies, they will be doing the weapon will be doing area damage. The damage is actually pretty good for this weapon, and every third attack will also heal all ally units, pets, all of that, right? All allies in a pretty big area actually. So yeah, here's a showcase of the medicine ball. You can see that the damage it will do is actually pretty respectable, right? The attack range is pretty good, like 156. Again, like there's a few levels here and there. I tried to test without any gadget, without any passives, all of that. But the damage it does is pretty respectable. Now the downside of it is, unfortunately, first of all, it is a melee range, and second of all, the attacks are quite slow, so it won't exactly work in a lot of these like high base scenarios, right? But if you look at the damage per second numbers, those are definitely pretty good, right? Like for a melee weapon, those are pretty good. Now the downside of this weapon, right, is the actual charge itself, like the charged ability, right? It doesn't do much. It's not a useful ability, simply put as that, right? The only use you really find for this weapon, right, is by simply running around the map and hitting bosses, right? That's the only really scenario where this is somewhat useful, right? So you can see when you're fighting lots of enemies, and especially at like later levels where maybe like level 25 or in dungeons, well, not dungeons, but the maps where you unlock the Elite Hunter program, right? There will be a lot more bosses in them. As you can see, we have 3 bosses on us at this moment, and in these scenarios, you can see at the heal numbers every third attack, these are pretty good, right? So it's a good weapon when it comes to like healing your teammates. If you are playing a healing role, I would say it's by far much better than the stuff of good vibes, if I have to say myself, right? Even then, like, we still vibe. But overall, right, like if you're running in a group of like 15 to 20 people, you can use this weapon for some decent DPS as well as really good healing. However, there's a very big downside, right? Why would you use this weapon for healing when you can just use something like an RGB mixtape passive, right? If a few people pick up the RGB mixtape, the heals will be way more consistent because you don't actually need to land the hit, and they will not take up your main damage slot, leaving your weapon to actually do some damage, right? So unfortunately in this case, while the ability is pretty strong and even the main damage it does is pretty good when it comes to AoE hits, the weapon, right, the ability is a little bit lackluster, especially the conditions for activating on it. You have to be in melee compared to something like Staff of Good Vibes, which is ranged, which is of course much better for a healer. And also you have to be actually hitting an enemy for it to activate, which makes it, in my opinion, much worse than the Staff of Good Vibes. So while Staff I could still put in something like a C tier, because again, ranged, you can just heal, you don't need to actually hit an ally, or hit an enemy. You also don't have any activation conditions, you don't have to wait for 3 hits, right? In order to heal, you can just sort of heal with it right off the bat. This one, it does more damage, it does more healing, but the activation conditions are also much worse. So apart from using it as a mass heal when hunting in worlds, really there is no use for this weapon, unfortunately, and I would have to put it in F tier. And next up we have one of the most probably used weapons in the game, and that is the Squid Blades, right? So to unlock the Squid Blades, you will need to hit level 25 on your character, and once you hit level 25, you will unlock a main story mission, and after defeating the quests in that mission, you will receive Squid Blades as a reward, right? Just to be specific, it looks like the NPC will be called Manny, and you will need to hunt a unit that he requests in order to unlock it, right? I don't exactly recall which unit, I just know that it is the Manny NPC at level 25, right? Now for these weapons, the damage they do is somewhat decent, right? They are a single target damaging weapon. However, damage is not what we're looking for. We are looking at the other 2 abilities that it has, so invisibility and ambush. So first of all, invisibility. Stop attacking and using gadgets to fill up the invisibility bar. When filled, you're turned invisible to enemies. This is an amazing passive to use in a lot of content, such as dojos. Dojos actually, it still works in dojos, and it's probably the least useful there, right? It works in dojos. It even works, which I'm not covering here, it even works amazingly in PvP. It's amazing in majority of the rifts, because there is a strategy to simply skip to the boss and avoid fighting all of the trash little monsters before the boss in the room. And on top of that, it also has a dash, which will deal like 15 times more damage than the basic attack, which you can easily charge just by not getting hit for a bit, right? So yeah, to give you a showcase of the Squid Blades, as you can see, as long as you are not getting hit or you are not using any abilities or attacks yourself, you will be charging the meter, and once the meter is fully charged, you will turn invisible. You'll have this little green aura around you, and the next attack that you do will dash towards the target and do massive damage to it. Now, if you use any ability or if you get hit while in this phase, yes, you are invisible, but for example, if you get hit by an AoE ability from a unit, or let's say someone is fighting next to you and they are currently getting hit and you manage to get a hit from them, you will lose invisibility. But once you use the first, basically you have to just click a basic attack, and once you use the first basic attack, you will dash to the enemy and you will do massive damage. So you will see that I'll dash in just a second here. And yeah, as soon as you dash, you will actually dash towards that enemy, not like you're hitting from range, but you'll actually get up close to them, right? And yeah, as you can see, I'll get this ready. You dash, you do, at my level, I did 2200 damage, whereas the basic attack is doing 140, which is, or 150 I guess, which is a big difference. It actually, by the time you charge that ability, you might do the same amount of damage from the dash as if you were just hitting the boss continuously, right? And I could really showcase this weapon in a lot of different pieces of content, right? But first of all, by far the most useful one will probably be just roaming around and hunting for a specific monster you need. Let's say you have a daily quest maybe, or you're just hunting for 1 or 2 monsters that are left, right? You can simply just walk around uninterrupted, because I know, from my experience at least, when you don't have invincibility and you have to just get to another side of the map, going through all of these annoying units is gonna be crazy and fun, right? So yeah, you can just simply use a dash. You can see you can get out of the fight if you dash away for a bit and just walk around. Even if they are focusing on you, you will lose focus and you will be able to walk around easily again. Another option where you can use is the rifts. For example, in the hunting party or the monster chase, this is an amazing option as well, where essentially if I am hunting a specific monster in something like a monster chase, right, I really just want to get to the boss, kill the boss quickly, and then move to the next boss, right? I don't want to waste time fighting all of the other additional like monsters, so I'll quickly skip a bit forward. And yeah, as you can see, I see the monsters on the screen, right? I avoid the rest of the units. I dash to it. Because this weapon deals really good single target damage, you are able to easily use it in order to kill a lot of bosses. Just make sure to bring some self-sustain, such as the vampire teeth, which is amazing with this weapon, right? Because it will be healing based on the amount of attacks that you do, and because this weapon deals a lot of attacks in a short amount of time, you will be able to heal really easily. And yeah, as you can see, once you hit them, there's this little Scorcher. I don't want to fight them, right? So I just go into invincibility, move to the next boss, and I can complete it this way. By using 4 Squid Blades, we did complete this raid in under 2 minutes. So yeah, if you want a strategy on how to do that, this is the way. I also have it recorded on my channel like a few days ago, so feel free to check that if you are interested. But yeah, Squid Blades, just as we die, otherwise is an amazing weapon. And without even a shadow of the doubt and without any other explanations, I am gonna easily put this weapon in the S tier. This is gonna be one of the most used weapons for general use as well as rifts, together with the SPEEDSHOT. I feel like they have equal usefulness, right? One for purely DPS, other for this more miscellaneous use, but yeah, easily S tier. Okay, and the next weapon we have is the SPINSICKLE. Now, I know a lot of people really like it. I'm personally not a massive fan of it, but I do see a lot of use in it as well, right? But what I can say, it is probably one of the most fun and satisfying weapons that you can use. So in order to unlock this weapon, the unlock condition is really simple. You just have to reach character level 29 on your game, and you will receive it as a level up reward. So the way it works, the mechanics of it are quite similar to the SPEEDSHOT bow. You essentially have to charge it by hitting quite slowly, and after you hit 6 attacks, it will enter spin mode, which is essentially like a charge mode, and you will be hitting enemies at a much faster pace. You will be hitting them AoE instead of just in front of you, and on top of that, you will also be avoiding 20% of the damage. Not like a 20% reduction, but just a 20% chance to fully avoid damage, right? So 1 in 5 hits on average, you won't actually take any damage at all. So when testing SPINSICKLE, you can see that at first you start hitting in the front. If you do not hit for a few seconds, it will lose the charges. But yeah, once you enter the spin mode, you can see that you start hitting like 2 to 3 times faster. You're able to hit way more enemies around you, and the range of this spin is actually relatively good, right? You can see that I'm able to walk pretty much at any spot on this wooden little platform, and I would still hit all 4 of the targets, right? The DPS per second numbers are amazing. Well, look at this, 1600 damage per second if we're looking at pure damage when it comes to 4 enemies, and yeah, that's pretty good. Now when it comes to using the SPINSICKLE, it does have pretty good uses in a lot of the content, right? I've used it in pretty much all types of content. I really love using it in worlds because it's just really fun. First of all, I have to say this, it's by far the most fun weapon to use in my opinion, right? On top of that, if you pair it with the vitamin shot, which I think is really essential when it comes to SPINSICKLE, because not only does it allow you to boost DPS, but it also allows you to charge it faster, right? Because if you pop vitamin shot right in the beginning, you will be able to charge it a bit faster and it will enter the spin mode a bit faster. Or if you are already in the spin mode, using the vitamin shot will boost your damage of that spin even more, right? Overall though, yeah, when it comes to using it in worlds, it's amazing for hunting, especially in like big groups when you're dealing with summoning totems or just hordes and hordes of random monster waves. You can keep spinning, the damage does really big, especially if you pair it with some rings once you unlock the elite program, as well as something like unstable lightning. Like, it's really good damage overall, especially if you're dealing with multiple enemies, like 5+ enemies at once. When it comes to rifts, it does have some use. As you can see, I'm using it in Van. It's probably not the best weapon to use in Van, but it's definitely one of the most versatile ones and definitely could work in here as well, although I do prefer TECHNO Fist in this specific dungeon. But there are some elite dungeons where, or elite rifts, where you will want to use SPINSICKLE, something like the Ramparts dungeon. So yeah, overall, very versatile weapon. It's amazing at dealing with all of the trash waves if you are not able to just pass it to the boss using the SQUID blades, right? If you feel like you are less sustained or maybe your teammates are a little weaker, SPINSICKLE is just an amazing option to go for, right? And when it comes to dojos, it also has a few levels with a decent amount of enemies all stacked up in one place where you can just simply run around the enemies and easily deal with them without taking too much damage. Also remember, because of the rapid hit counts you do with this weapon, right? It works really well with the Vampire T passive. I'm currently at full HP, but you can see that as soon as I take damage, if I take damage, I'll let you know, you will be able to heal quite a bit. Plus, remember that you do have that inbuilt 20% chance to dodge an attack, which makes you that much more tankier in the end, right? So yeah, this one, super amazing weapon, super fun weapon, and I can only give it the highest marks on it. So yeah, as mentioned, SPINSICKLE, honestly, I would say it's probably... Oh, it's hard for me to say. Like, I would put it below SPEEDSHOT and SQUID blades in terms of usefulness overall, right? But in terms of damage, it's really good. I would probably put it somewhere around here, right? I really like the damage. I think it's better than the Portal, even though Portal is like super versatile as well. But I feel like I use it a bit less than the SPEEDSHOT and the SQUID blades, right? It's amazing as a general weapon. Like, if you don't know what to pick, right? If you have every single weapon unlocked and you don't know what to use, SPINSICKLE is an easy option. It has the tankiness, it has the damage, it has the sustain if you use Vampire Teeth. It just has everything, right? It doesn't do everything the best way, but it does a lot on top of that, right? And it's also pretty much like a direct upgrade to the TOOTHPICK shield, because this one will reduce the damage you take by 25%. This will dodge the damage by 20%, which in a way, on average, is pretty much almost the same passive, works the same way. But on top of that, unlike the TOOTHPICK and shield, you actually do damage, right? Because with this one, this damage with this weapon is absolutely dreadful, whereas with SPINSICKLE, you are doing massive damage on top of that, right? So yeah, easily S tier, probably lower than SPEEDSHOT and SQUID blades in terms of usefulness, but still nonetheless an amazing weapon. And now we have the last weapon, Buzzkill. So this is a weapon that you only unlock after hitting level 30 and entering the Elite Hunter program. Now, unlocking this weapon is no easy task. Trust me, you will have trouble unlocking it if you are even like level 10 or 15. I only unlocked it like 2 days ago, and that was from completing one of the main missions. So essentially, once you hit level 30, you will get a lot of missions. One of them will do with rifts, another one with Dojo, third one with a lot of these different PvP modes. So in order to unlock the buzzkill, you will have to be completing the main quest line focused around the rifts, right? So you will unlock this Chaos Extreme mode. This will have a bunch of rifts to go through, right? Don't worry, not all of these are this like different. These are simply 3 difficulties, so you can see starting from Deep George all the way to tournament rounds, and after that it's the same rift but just hard mode, and after that it's gonna be nightmare mode, right? So 3 different difficulties for the same raids. But in order to unlock this weapon, you'll have to beat every single rift that is of normal mode. So Deep George, Cave of Corruption, all of these until you beat tournament rounds. Once you beat tournament rounds, this is when you will unlock the buzzkill weapon and you will be able to use it, right? Now for the weapon itself, the damage that it does, especially the AoE damage, is really high. I have to give it that, right? The damage it does, you can see 286 at my current level. I believe it's like level 27 at the moment with no passives. The damage it does is really respectable. What I don't like about it is the range. As you can see, if I'm hitting from there, like where I hit a second ago, I wasn't even able to reach the 4th target, right? So it also only hits in front of you, so it does have trouble. Like these 4 targets, it already has trouble hitting all 4 of them. But every 4th attack that you do, it will spawn a bee to fight for you, right? So this is the second weapon which spawns an animal together with the wolf stick. These 2 exist just purely to spawn. There are in total 4 items that spawn animals. One of them is a gadget and one of them is a passive. But yeah, as you can see, once you spawn these bees, these actually last forever, and as you walk around, they will actually follow you. Unlike the werewolf, right? I believe although the werewolf might follow you as well, but yeah, as you can see, if you walk, they will actually start following you. Because they are ranged, they will follow and try to attack at the same time as soon as possible, right? And unlike the werewolf, because they are ranged units, they will be able to attack much easier. However, compared to the werewolf, you cannot really use them to tank enemies, right? Because you have a melee weapon and these bees are a ranged unit, essentially, unlike with the wolf stick, where the werewolf is the closest ally to the boss. With this case, you will be the closest ally to the boss, whereas the bees will just stay behind you, and if you move away too far, the bees will follow you, and yeah, there's really no good way to use them to tank a damage from other enemies, right? Now, unfortunately for this weapon, while it is the last weapon and it is the hardest to unlock, I feel like it just really lacks any good use for it. So the best use I found for it is that it does really good damage in just like the regular worlds, right? You are able to do really good damage if you're hitting multiple enemies. You're gonna do massive damage as well. The downside is that it is a melee weapon, right? So you will be usually taking some damage from bosses as well. The bees are only able to focus on a single target, so whereas the weapon can hit multiple, the bees will only hit a single target, so there's sort of like a bit of a conflict there. Also, the AoE damage you do from your main attacks, remember in the training grounds, the range was really small, which means that in this raid, not in this raid, but like in these worlds when you're just hunting bosses, unlike something like a SPINSICKLE where you can hit everyone around you, you're only really gonna be able to hit a few enemies in front of you, which really impacts this ability to do damage. So it still does really good damage in worlds, but overall I just don't see much use for it. I tried using it in some rifts, I tried using it in some dojos, I even tried it. No, I didn't try it in PvP, but that's not where I'm focusing mostly. But yeah, rifts and dojos, I really see no use for them. I tried fighting like hordes, I tried fighting enemies that are like bosses, single target or maybe 2 targets. And really, there's just no use for them. They're a cool niche item. You can maybe go for something like a full pet build with buzzkill, with the turtle, with the chickens, right? Maybe that could work out. I'll try to work that out and see if it works any well, right? But yeah, overall, unfortunately, I just don't see much use for buzzkill, right? And yeah, it's a shame because it's the last weapon you unlock. You feel like it would be the coolest one, right? But overall, really not much use for it. So unfortunately, with our last weapon, we will have to end it with a bit of a letdown, right? I'm not gonna put it F tier because it does have some use, right? Like, first of all, the damage it does is really high. Second of all, it does have usefulness, right? If you are able to make a pet team work, you may be able to get some something with that, right? Because for example, if you use the shield gadget, as you know, the shield not only shields you but your pets as well. So if you spawn some chickens, if you spawn some bees, you are able to make some really nasty combos that did work out. They simply just weren't as good as just using some like AoE weapons that are much better, right? So unfortunately, not a good weapon. Definitely not F tier, but I would have to put it in C tier as the sort of like generalist weapon that has a little bit of use but not enough to be in like the middle tier, right? So I would have to put it in something like C tier. I'll probably, when it comes to sorting the C tier, I would probably do it like this, right? I think Stuff of Ghost Wives and the buzzkill is definitely better than the slugger, but yeah, this is the final tier list that I have, right? And yeah, let me know your opinions about it, whether you agree or disagree on the weapons. This is just my opinion after testing it in a lot of content, right? Let me know your thoughts about this. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope this video helped you out, whether it's to give an opinion on the weapon, where to use it, or just how to unlock these, because I know I've seen a lot of questions about how you can unlock certain weapons from some lower level players. And yeah, hope you enjoyed. Make sure to stay tuned for a similar video on all of the gadgets and passives. And yeah, peace.